Scripture records instances where war aligns with divine purposes. God commands the complete destruction of Canaanite cities to prevent idolatry from corrupting Israel, employing war as a means of executing justice against entrenched evil. He calls upon rulers to defend the weak, the fatherless, the poor, and the oppressed, suggesting that force may be required to rescue the vulnerable from harm. He portrays governing authorities as God's servants who bear the sword to punish wrongdoers, thereby authorizing the state to engage in military action to maintain order. Joshua describes the walls of Jericho falling at God's direction, followed by conquest, demonstrating divine guidance in Israel's military campaigns. Revelation presents Christ returning on a white horse to wage war in righteousness, illustrating the ultimate retribution through conflict. God acknowledges a time for war alongside a time for peace, accepting warfare as part of human seasons. David attributes victory over Goliath to the Lord, framing armed confrontation as defense of God's honor. Daniel affirms that God changes times and seasons and sets up and removes kings, implying that wars among nations advance his sovereign plans. Genesis recounts Abram leading armed servants to recover Lot from captors, restoring rightful order through military rescue. Exodus promises that the Lord will fight for Israel at the Red Sea, using deliverance from Pharaoh's army to reveal his power to surrounding nations. Scripture also presents teaching that prioritize alternatives to war. Jesus declares that mercy triumphs over judgment, favoring compassion over punitive measures carried out through conflict. He instructs believers to love enemies and pray for persecutors, promoting non-violent response, even amid oppression of the innocent. Isaiah prophesies nations beating swords into plowshares and learning war no more, anticipating governmental authority that renounces military solutions. Jesus states that his kingdom is not of this world, declining to employ armed defense for his mission. Romans quotes God reserving vengeance for himself, forbidding human retaliation through warfare. He blesses peacemakers as children of God, elevating reconciliation above confrontation. Ephesians identifies the Christian struggle against spiritual forces rather than flesh and blood, directing believers towards prayer and faith instead of physical weapons. Ezekiel conveys God's reluctance to see the wicked die, expressing sorrow over loss of life in any form. Jesus commands doing good to those who hate you, restoring order through active love rather than violence. John records Jesus overcoming the world through his peace, demonstrating victory by endurance and resurrection rather than armed triumph. Scripture contains passages depicting war as a divinely directed instrument of judgment, protection, governance, historical precedent, retribution, seasonal necessity, faith defense, national sovereignty, moral restoration, and public revelation of God's power, while concurrently offering passages that advocate mercy, enemy love, future disarmament, kingdom redefinition, exclusive divine vengeance, peacemaking, spiritual combat, grief over death, benevolent restoration, and conquest through sacrificial peace. War. What is the will of God?